Hello, my name is Brandon Meek, and today I would like to look over face negotiation theory with a focus on competent intercultural face work. This theory shows that every culture communicates in different ways and that we have to try to understand the different ways of which each culture does so that we can be a part of what they know and learn from them as they learn from us. Ting Toomey in Griffin 2006, she said she believes that the cultural knowledge, mindfulness, and face work interaction skills are three requirements for effectively communicating across cultures. Knowledge is the first one. Knowledge means learn about the culture, know how another culture views things. That's just like certain hand gestures, eye contact, or shaking hands is normal in our culture. It could mean something else completely in a different culture. And it could be seen as great in that culture, it could be seen as horrible, or it could just not mean anything. Mindfulness. This is where you realize that our first impression may be inaccurate. That is just like if someone does something that we're not accustomed to, we have a tendency to look at it as wrong. Well, that isn't always the case. We have to see that their culture has done that for however so many years, and although our culture frowns on it, doesn't mean that it's wrong because their culture has always done it. We have to have an open mind when it comes to dealing with different cultures and different people altogether. Interaction skill, communicating effectively. This basically just means that we try to understand as we're speaking and as we're doing, to where everything we say has a purpose and a reason and can be explained by anyone or anything. I am guilty of not being the most effective speaker, but when it comes to listening and having a conversation, I know to not talk over them, and I know to let them finish speaking before I start so that they know I'm not being rude and know I'm not being disrespectful to them. In most cultures, if you speak over someone, it's bad because you aren't waiting to see what they have to say. And a topic that I found very interesting inside these is the face restoration. This is who you are as defined by your autonomy and freedom. This is this concept's version of self in a way. This is how you see yourself in terms of your environment and by who you're around and by everything that is you. My personal experience with dealing with this different cultural background is when I went to Mexico when I was younger. I did not know the culture very well, and I barely knew the language. I just knew that everyone was nice to begin with, and I couldn't, understand why many of my friends had trouble speaking to them and stuff. So I started up a conversation with someone that had said that they had lived there all their life, and I noticed there was a lot of cultural differences between us. And I knew that, for one, I didn't have the knowledge to understand how different we were. I didn't know that I should have, before I had left, looked up how to do what is rude and what is not to. I will never make that mistake again, because I felt like there was a few things I did that was just genuinely upsetting to them, but they knew they knew that that's just how Americans do. It was just especially when I was talking about the water. I mean, it's their water. You think that, being in America, there's so many jokes about it, but I mentioned, is the water safe to drink? And that was unbearably rude to them. It's just not something you ask. And I realize if you're going in someone's home, basically, and asking something like that, even in America, that's rude. But that was my lack of knowledge to the situation and my mindfulness. I should have known that that's not something you say. I should have known, done my research, and had an assumption like this is not okay, but I didn't. And as far as speaking eloquently goes, I also didn't do that. I was rude and cocky, and I thought that I was better than them for some. And I hope that it was just because I was a teenager. But I was just downright rude to that person. But after I left that house, I realized how rude I was. But they never noticed. They were sweet. They never said anything bad about it. But I've always regretted that moment in my life because I know I can never take that back. I didn't try to put them down as a person. Just the way I carried myself was overly cocky and pretentious. Because I was really nice to them. I complimented them. It was just I didn't follow the right steps for an appropriate conversation. And in this chapter, I've learned that once we understand what is different, or what is different is not bad, it is just different from what we know, we can understand the world better. I think that is what I pull from this, is that everything is just different for the most part. We have to try to understand their point of view, and I know that that's easier said than done, but if we genuinely try to put ourselves in their shoes and to try to learn the history of what they do, of what everyone else does, in comparison to what we do, we might find ourselves even better looking inward. And we might even pick up some of their cultural traits. We might even become more like them, or, we can just say that, hey, we know why you do what you do. But in conclusion, I hope that in the future I am more open-minded, more knowledgeable, more mindful, and more able to communicate effectively. Thank you.